Share my screen. All right. Hopefully everything's up and running. What I plan on doing today is starting chapter 10 and getting as far as I can. Chapter 10 is one of those ones. There's a couple of them in here that are I can either just really slam through it and get it done in one session, or kind of uh, it's a weird, or do two mediocre. I mean, not mediocre, but kind of slower paced and split it up into two. But it doesn't really work too well, so because it's not that long. But it's kind of in that middle ground. So I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna start out with a slow pace, unless I end up going a little faster than I thought. Maybe I'll finish it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes as we get there. A couple other, just I might as well go through the administration kind of stuff. Let me minimize this for a second. Here is the modules. Here's the schedule. This is where we are. We should be somewhere in um, where is it? No, no, beginning of November. We should be right here on, I'm starting, this is next week. I am starting chapter 10 right now. And actually, I think I need to move up the well, no, the midterm is in that week. So here's the midterm on the 7th. I thought, man, it's kind of confused me. I didn't see it right away. Sorry. But so the midterm will be next Tuesday on the 7th, November 7th, as it says, at the regular time, at 10:30 for this session, and then it will be morning. It'll be 10:30 for this session, which is a 67 session. And those of you who are from and watching this from the 65 section, it will be at 9 o'clock regular. Both same format as last time, in the classroom, on Canvas, and I'll probably check IDs again. So make sure you have some kind of a student ID or a driver's license or something along those lines. 10 true and false, 40 multiple choice, kind of same thing as last time. All right, other things. Let me jump over to, it's probably easiest to get to it from here. I'm going to go to um, the group tech evaluation. I think I can jump to it here. Here's where you're submitting things. I need to probably go through and see what that is. But let me look at, maybe it might be easier to go over to the people. I have once again, there we go. All right, talk to it from here. I have made all the groups. I've seen some information relative to different things. Relative to, I think one group has updated their topic, so I've changed that. Once again, if those of you who are here attending, make sure you give me your topic, so I will change this to whatever your topic is, as it is here. And I need the date. The date that shows, I mean, the number of, if there's a letter here, the letter indicates just that I've created the group. Once I get an indication from a group saying I want to present on the first day, or I want to be group 1, group 2, group 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever, then I change this to a number, and then you know what day you're supposed to turn in your or have your put out your project. Haven't received that. If I don't receive them probably by this weekend, what I'm thinking of doing is I will just go through and change all these to 1 through 6, and so I'll assign the dates if people don't ask for it or show me their preference. So I'll probably do that this week, and maybe I'll show there. I've had a couple questions on when that happens, so maybe I'll pop over to, this is probably easiest to see here, the syllabus. Here's the syllabus. Going to jump down and show when that is on the syllabus. Hopefully it loads within a reasonable amount of time. If I jump down all the way to the schedule, you will see here on the 20th, which I will have, and I'll clarify this. I'll put a little more information in an announcement, probably do that either today or tomorrow, saying if you're group 1 or 2, you're required to upload into the discussion board, which when I just went there and I noticed I haven't changed it yet. I need to fix it. When I'll put it up there, so you can put it in the discussion board. So groups 1 and 2, and I think the 20th, if I look at my handy dandy calendar over on this guy, The 20th would be a Monday, and I'll probably make it so you need to upload it either the 21st. I don't know if I'll make it a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I don't know if that it much matters. I'll probably make it so you upload it, and maybe on Wednesdays. It's not that critical that it be one or worse than the other. But so groups 1 and 2 they'll be required to upload theirs by the 22nd, let's say, if I pick Wednesday. And then the next week, the 29th for groups 3 and 4. And then groups 5 and 6 will upload theirs on the 6th. So that's kind of what the group numbers will mean once I assign them. So hopefully that's not too confusing. All right, so let me close this and go back. I think that's all the administration kind of stuff. If there's any confusion or any more questions on the groups, please let me know. Make sure you get together with your group. But if you have any issues, I've had a couple students say, I'm having trouble getting hold of 1 or 2 people. Send me an email and I'll send something out to them saying, hey, your group's trying to get a hold of you. And if you're going to participate, you need to get in touch with them right away. Those kinds of things. I'll send a message kind of trying to, get them to contact you if they're not proactively responding. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Let's go over. I think that's it. That's all I planned on going over for this. Got all the important things anyway. So let me jump back over to, I'm going to bring back my PowerPoint slides and show you Chapter 10. Chapter 10, information systems used within typical organizations. We're going to talk about different systems and what organizations usually use in their day-to-day activities. Starting out with transaction processes, and then we're going to get a little bit into the ERP stuff. And that's where I'm going to try to figure out what makes a good logical breaking point once I get into the ERP kind of stuff. All right, so let's start out. Of course, we're going to get my charts here over here in sync. All right, so first thing, a few definitions. Transaction. What is a transaction? Transaction is some kind of an event or something that we do within the course of a business. Early on in chapter 2, we talked about these things called processes. And a lot of times these transaction processing systems, that is what we're doing. It's those steps that you do to provide or whatever it is to accomplish your tasks, being, if you're building something, manufacturing something, or if you have a service related task. So transaction is what are the processes or the things that you do in order to, provide your product or service. So then a transaction processing system is an automated system that goes through and does those kinds of things for you. In a retail business, for example, one of the things if you have, you have a sales process. Somebody buys something, they bring it up to maybe a point of sale kind of device, and so then you scan a barcode or a QR code or some way, you scan that into the system, and so your cash register or whatever device you're using looks at it and says, oh, okay, yeah, I know how much that costs. Does a running total of all the items, and then it gives, this is how much is, adds taxes and all that stuff, and this is how much you charge, and finishes the transaction with that customer. On the backside, stuff you probably are aware of or may or may not be aware, one of the things it does is also it'll say, oh, okay, we had, pair of shoes or something. We had, 10 of those shoes in inventory, reduce the inventory by 1 so that we know how many they have. And it does all kinds of other stuff. It probably, adds information about who the salesperson was or who rang it and all that kind of stuff. So there's all kinds of things a transaction processing system does in the background too, very typically anyway. And then the last thing on here is the online transaction processing system. Basically, it's just a processing system that does them online for you or processes them. And probably that gets into a little bit more on this kind of stuff that, especially now that we're using online kind of things, this is a system that helps make better decisions. And I'm going to go into that in just a little bit, a little more detail on that in a second. So some of what a transaction processing system does, kind of a little more detail about a TPS as it is. First thing is that continuous real. Somebody had a question there. Maybe not. Continuous real-time data collection. One of the things that that is maybe I'll talk. I'm trying to think because I like to talk about the real time aspect of it relative to and in the same kind of context as batch processing. Real time basically is one of those things we talk about when you're running something. You do that process. Let's maybe jump back to my example that I just talked about in the previous chart. So I have a retail store and somebody bought a pair of shoes. All the real time stuff we do that right away. We in quote unquote real time, where we update inventory, we update how much, probably tables of how many, what our total sales for the day are, who sold it, and all those kinds of things. So that's a real time. We do it right away. And I'm going to jump down to that bottom guy, and then I'll kind of bounce back up and catch the other ones on in between. Historically, because computer systems, the old computer systems, we weren't able to do things necessarily. We had less processing power, we had less data storage kind of stuff. And computers just weren't as fast. So one of the things that we did was we did these things called batch processing. Batch processing was, let's say, that same transaction. Somebody buys something. Well, the thing we have to do right away, we need to do real time, is we have to figure out how much to charge the person, and complete the transaction. But all those other ancillary things like update inventory, update our sales for the day kind of stuff, might be useful. And it may be useful if you're making you need to make quick decisions, but you can really wait and do that later. And especially if you're doing a lot of you have a high volume of transactions you have to do, you want to use your system to process the people, the sale part of it with your customers. So a lot of times what we do is we save that inventory information somewhere, just save it, and then do all the updating of inventory, do all the other ancillary background kind of stuff later, and in a what we call batching. So we batch up all this information about all the sales of the day, and then we go update how much we sold, how much in change inventory. And what that did was give you more time to work with the customers. With our systems today, much faster, a lot more processing, speed, a lot more throughput, a lot, just so much easier. Most of it's done real time. There are things that are done, batching, still batch. There are some things maybe it makes sense, but the majority of the things, because of the systems and how fast they work, we don't do a lot of batch processing. And that batch processing was, you find a window. Most retail kind of outlets, back in the day anyway, were 8 to 5, especially brick and mortar kind of places. So it was 8 to 5, and you did your batch processing when you weren't doing the regular customer transactions kind of stuff. So that was always, it was convenient. All right, so jumping back up, I'm going to go back up here now and talk about the efficiently handling high volumes of data and large variations in those volumes. One of the things, obviously, that's what computers are good for, is we can do things very quickly and high volume, whereas we couldn't do that before by hand. And with our systems now, we can also do things with fewer errors. Especially things like inventory. I guess that's going to be my example for the day. It's not my notes, but that's going to be an example for the day. And so we can avoid errors. Back in the day, inventory, if we didn't have a system, a TPS system of sorts, I remember working. I didn't work retail. I had people I worked in restaurants, and I remember at the end of every week, our bartenders anyway had to. I was a waiter. Our bartenders had to go and inventory all their the liquor. And I remember that was just a very tedious kind of process. They had these books, and all the different types of rum. What types of rum do we have, and how much do we have? We have 2 bottles in the back, and we have a half a bottle in the well, in the where the bartender was. And so they had to do this every week. Well, obviously, there's room for error. Oh, the guy didn't count. In a bar, it's probably a little more prone to error, but for all kinds of different reasons. But one of the things you want to do, it's less error prone. You just, when you get new shipment of the stuff in, you count it, you put it in there, and then as you use stuff, you can just subtract it, and it's a lot less prone to error and downtime, time that you don't have it available. And then you can record things much more accurately than you could before, because like I said, if you're, especially things like inventory, you can update it right away. although my understanding, I've not worked retail, like I said, but there's also that other aspect of retail. They still do have to do inventory kind of stuff, because there's I don't know what the term, I can't think of the term right off the top of my head, but there's, unfortunately, people do steal things. And so you may think you have 10 of these, 10 of these shoes or whatever it is I said, in inventory. And, somebody's, I don't know if they steal shoes, but nonetheless, people are stealing, they probably steal everything. But, so your inventory is not quite what you thought it was. So you have to go back and you have to adjust it based on, is the term shrinkage, or there's something like that. I remember there's some weird that didn't make sense to me, but I think in retail they use some kind of a different term. Obviously, with them, you can maintain privacy and security. You have a system with all this stuff in there, and so you have a little more secure information about your product or service. All right, let's move on. All right, so the next several charts are just kind of talking about, and once again, this is one of those things. If you're going to get into a business, one of the things you want to think about is, how do I want to manage my business, and what kinds of tools do I need? What kind of automation tools do I need to assist me? And I'd say the next, I don't know, 3, 4 charts just talk about different types of TPS systems and things you might want to think about. Okay, I have my business, or I'm going to start a business. What are the types of, what kinds of things can I use? How can I get a TPS system, or what kind of things can I use to help me do this thing called running my own business? All right, so the first thing, information system for accounting and finance, probably a very core fundamental thing in most organizations. Helps you, just generally plan and budget how much money you are how you're going to run the business throughout the year. Knowing and planning how much money is going to be available, figuring out, okay, well, and over time, keep track of how much, financial planning kind of stuff. Okay, after you get a little bit of history, it says, on a given month, we usually have income of this amount of money, and we have some kind of expenditures of this amount. So then you can start using that to figure out, how do you want to budget, or how you got to pay payroll, how am I going to budget all that? So it helps you. They have tools that tell you, okay, this is how much you can expect, or you can kind of forecast for planning for income, and then forecast budgeting against it. So those kinds of tools are available in a TPS very typically. There's also stuff for financial transactions of those things that we do. I talked about the person that's going to, you buy these pairs of shoes. I don't know. I was thinking, why would I use that as a choice? But anyway, financial transaction. Okay, now the person, let's say they use a credit card or some method of, you have to have those transaction processing systems for accounting and finance will actually handle that process between, and I think I showed, you have an intermediary kind of a clearinghouse in between. It'll actually do that, that connection with the clearinghouse, and do all the behind the scenes kind of things for you. The next thing, investment management, investment portfolio management. And this is, some of these things you may not use all of them, but if you have some kind of, if you're investing in some kind of, stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, or you have some kind of investment portfolio that you use as part of your business, you take part of your money in the organization, and you say, okay, I'm going to invest this for long-term futures or whatever. There's packages are in there as well. And then the last thing, control and auditing. Hopefully this is something you probably should take advantage of. Monitoring how things are being spent, or things that are going on. And I kind of talked a little bit about that. You maybe have the inventory control, where people are stealing kind of things, and you have less inventory than you expected and thought. This is where the control and auditing kind of functions will probably help you. They'll say things like, okay, over the last 6 months, we've had to, you've adjusted very many times for, you've adjusted for certain, shirts, pants, shoes, whatever, being maybe this is where it'll hopefully raise a red flag for you and say you might want to go in and put in some kind of security or change the way you do business so that you can reduce the number, because that's a loss, that's an expense, that's a loss to the business. And there's also things for auditing, seeing where you are within the organization. Those of you who are accountants, audit functions to see, are you doing, can you look and see, are you doing you're managing your accounting correctly, or somebody stealing money from you, your accounting, somebody, your cash people at the registers or whatever, or the typical accounting audit functions. All right, so the next section, once again, another area that you might choose to use these things in productions and operations management. The first one is the in-house logistics and materials management. In-house logistics, productions management kind of thing. We're going to talk a little bit more about this, I think, in one of the future chapters. I think it's 12. I think 11 is CRM, and then 12 is this supply chain management. Might be the same as 11. Anyway, so in-house logistics are, you have things, you have inbound kinds of things. I'm making PCs. Let's switch to a little better example, maybe. I'm making PCs, and one of the things I want to do is I have some kind of, so I have to figure out how many I'm going to order so many cases. I'm going to order so many, motherboards and all the different parts I need to make a PC. And so you have inbound logistics. I have to order, I have to purchase them, do the financial transactions, some of the stuff on the last chart. And then I have to receive the materials. I have to put them into inventory somewhere. And so that's kind of the inbound, or the logistics of getting stuff in. And you also have the outbound logistics. The outbound logistics are, okay, I got all these things, I put them in inventory. Now I built these PCs. Now I got to do stuff like, I got to put them packaging. I package them up, and I put them on a shelf, and then when I get an order, I ship them out. And so that's kind of the outbound kind of stuff. There are TPS, or transaction processing systems, that help you do that. Place the order, get the stuff, store it, and keep track of how much your inventory is, and then help you with the outbound. Okay, somebody ordered this, so I took that whole product now off the shelf and I sent it out. All right, so then that's what and then inventory management, once again, it's part of that, managing, saying, okay, I got 10 of these on the shelf, and somebody calls up and says, hey, I need, let's say I got 10. Somebody calls up and says, hey, I need, I want to buy 12, or you get an electronic order for 12. Oops, we're too short. We're not going to be able to make that. So it helps you to, for production purposes, I need to make some more very quickly, or something to meet the need. And so it gives you the information on, and then, lets you plan for, that inventory in the future. The next thing, quality control. Make sure your product is, meets your quality standards. Hopefully you have some level of quality standards, and and beyond that too. So, the way you make something, you hope you're doing it with some quality kind of built into it. But the one thing it can do as well is some of the higher quality, or the better TPS systems will say, we keep getting returns on, let's say the motherboard, for example, of my PC example. We keep getting returns on, and let's say I use two or three different ones, which is not uncommon. I have 2 or 3 different motherboards in the PC that I manufacture, and all of a sudden we're getting a lot of returns on that one of the 3, or whatever, how many different ones you use. So now the system will say, will be able to trigger and say, seems like we have a higher level, maybe give you a specific report saying, hey, we're having a control issue here. And then you can make a decision. You either contact that vendor and say, hey, you're giving me bad boards here. Can you, make them better? Or you decide, hey, the quality is bad here. I don't want poor quality in my product, so I'm not going to use it. So the quality control, the POM part of a TPS, can allow you to make decisions to improve your quality. Planning production. Planning production is looking at, and planning production and operations is looking at demand, and this is certainly the case over time. probably, if you're a brand new company, it's probably not going to be too useful. But after a couple of years, you start seeing, and I think I talked last time about this concept of seasonality. I think in a perfect world, or probably the easiest, not perfect world anyway, probably the easiest way is if your product line is every month, man, you get an order for 100 every month, or maybe a 101 or 99, but it's pretty linear what you're going to get. However, most products probably aren't that straightforward. And you probably have some level of seasonality, and like I talked about toys, toys is usually one that has a very seasonal kind of thing. And we're getting towards that part of the year where toy manufacturers, it's their high season, start selling lots more of those kinds of things. So the systems will keep track of that, and you can usually see in some kind of report, maybe a chart or something that says, okay, during this month, the next month, we typically only sell half as much as we do in the beginning of the year. So you can use those tools to plan and figure out how much you should make and how much you should buy, the in-house logistics, back to the first bullet, how much you should buy. And it helps you to plan your productions a lot better. The next one, computer integrated, automating your processes. One of the things, and probably the poster child for that, the good old fashioned manufacturing of things. I like to see the production line of cars, of course, is one of the oldest production lines. You see all these automated arms coming in and doing things. So computer aided manufacturing, and you see more and more of that, because we're becoming a technology world, and it's a lot better. You get a lot more consistency. You better, jumping up some of these other things, you better control. And so in figuring out ways to use different computer systems to help you automate as many processes as possible. And that's kind of the kind of main, for a guy like me, a IT kind of guy, always looking for how can we automate things, make them, and let the people only do stuff that we're still somewhat struggling to, the computer can't do it quite as well. Which, as I'm saying this, I'm kind of thinking, we're getting to that point where AI is starting to be able to do a lot of stuff and, thinking for us. It's going to be interesting. Like I kind of mentioned in the past, how much, as we're getting better with AI, how much it's going to be able to replace some of our thinking and do it better, faster, smarter. So it's going to be interesting the next several years of how it affects the working world and things like productions over time. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. I don't necessarily think it's going to wipe us out or anything. I'm not a doom and gloom kind of guy that AI, talk about that later in chapter 14. That's the last chapter. But I don't think it's going to necessarily wipe us out. But they're already, there's another aspect of it. I just noticed in one of my notes. They're kind of a computer integrated manufacturing kind of a tool. I mean, I don't know if they talk about this in the book or not, but I read somewhere where some of the different, when you see vending machines, they're certainly right outside of, our regular classroom, 141. There's a vending machine out there. But I don't know if it has this feature built into it, but I read somewhere, this is a couple of years ago, that one of the things that they were starting to build into those where they were having either, I don't know if they were Wi-Fi communication or how they were actually communicating to them, but one of the things they did, or maybe they just put like a temperature probe on it, and certain things, like if the temperature outside, let's say it's a beverage machine, the vending machine's a beverage machine, and all of a sudden the temperature outside becomes, it's like it does here, it gets 105, 110 degrees. One of the things that they could program into this, I don't know if they did it remotely or just it did it by itself, is that when the temperature goes up, they would change the price, raise the price of, now, a bottle of water. I don't know what it is in a vending machine. Let's say it's $1.50. All of a sudden it's 105 degree out there. Well, raise it to $2. People are going to pay more because it's hotter. So I read something along the line that capability and functionality was being put into these machines, which I thought, oh, that's just, I don't know, me personally, I'm thinking that's just wrong, man. Jamming up the prices higher. But if you think about it, that's something, a function that can be done with these things. And then the last thing, product lifecycle management. Products, you may have a product that you use and you want to monitor. You monitor the production, the sales, how much you're using that thing. And one of the things you notice is over time, maybe your product's no longer viable, no longer people no longer want it or whatever. And so you see trends in it. Oh, you spikes, maybe that seasonality thing again. But all of a sudden it's kind of tailing off. You're just not selling very much of it. So the life cycle management of it, one of the things you might want to do is look at it and say, hey, this is costing us more to make. We're really not selling that much. What are we going to do with this thing? We can either change it, we can modify it, change the way it looks, or maybe market it differently, or it just might be, let's get rid of it. Done. It's run its life cycle. Let's stop making it and discontinue that as a product. And so the TPS systems can help you see those kinds of things and help you make a decision. So, all right, so let's go. Next thing, human resources kind of stuff. Human resources, we did talk about that a little, so maybe I'll go through this a little more quickly. Once again, I showed the site on Tuesday anyway for the county recruitment. So obviously the TPS systems can do things to help you recruit, find quality people. And I don't know if I mentioned last time, I don't think I did. There's a whole science behind how some of these TPS systems do it. There's all kinds of there are things to now now in this day and age we submit resumes or an application of sorts, and now within these there's some intelligence built in that says, okay, look for certain words, look for certain information, especially if you have qualifications. I say these are the minimum qualifications. There are tools that can go through and say, okay, look for the qualifications of let's say one of the qualifications has to have a college degree, a bachelor's degree in something. So the TPS systems can go through there and look for those specific qualifications and kick it out and say, this one did or didn't, or this one we think might have it in and needs further review by a person. Somebody has to review it. And so those kinds of things are capable as well. There's all kinds of, that's kind of an interesting whole science in and of itself. I remember when we first started using automated tools for recruitment purposes to look through resumes, to look through applications, there was all kinds of tricks that were there. Sometimes you'd say, okay, I want a person who has, I'm trying to think of a good example, has a degree or has experience in a certain area. And one of the ways it would look for experience is look for maybe a specific words that were used in there. And one of the tricks was, I don't think this works anyway. I think most of the engines take this out. But one of the things it would do is like people, if you wanted to bubble up to the top and make your application or resume or rated higher, you just put that word in there a lot. And that's what rate it higher than somebody else's. And so one of the things the tricks that was done that we found anyway was if you would put down at the bottom what you think are these keywords or things they may be looking for, and you would put it in white text. Like if I put white text on my slides right here, you won't see it, but this computer knows it's there and can read it as text. And so people would put words maybe at the end of the resume or embedded it somewhere in white space, put words, just the same word over and over, and it would bubble to the top. And I thought it was that's pretty genius actually for the most part. But now the systems that know how to look for that kind of stuff and can weed it out in most cases. Human resources developing different employees. A lot of things, I think I talked about that last time, as far as you always want to develop people, but there's also other things that we do. Employee evaluations. The county, we have to do employee evaluations once a year. We always have to do a performance review. And so it keeps track of that. And these systems beyond that keep having a repository to keep them. One of the things it did too was keep track of for every employee. The last time that they had a review was this date, and now it's 2 months here. It'd send a reminder, maybe email to the supervisor and say, hey, you haven't reviewed this person, you do, and send you reminders. And that's a good thing. That's one of those, as a supervisor, I managed for several years. It's very, very easy to forget, oh, I got to do that. So it's nice to have a system that reminds you when to do it. And you should, there should be, you shouldn't just be, communicating with your employees on a, once every year kind of thing. You should be constantly giving feedback, good and bad, on their, how well they're doing. And so those kinds of tools exist as well. And then the last one, human resources planning and payroll, and they list several things. Different payroll and employee records of all employees. You're going to have some records of things like where do they live, emergency contacts, benefits administration, what benefits have they chosen, and who are their dependents that are eligible and on their plans. All those kinds of things that go with human relations kind of stuff, as well as there's typically stuff too. I would love to say that every employee is always a happy employee. We all love our jobs, and just, it's a very nice and harmonious world. However, the reality is there are sometimes you have to do disciplinary actions. You write up, you maybe write somebody up. You have to have a way to do that. There's grievances. There's how you manage that, and a lot of the transaction processes will have something to track that for you. And keep that information. And that is one of those things that is very, very, you need to keep that secure. Last thing you want is, some other employee to be able to go in and look and say, oh, this Mark guy, man, he's been disciplined 10 times. What's up with this guy? He steals stuff, comes in late all the time. So you need something to manage that the employee relations part of it as well. All right, so moving along, now we're going to jump into the ERP world, or the enterprise resource planning. And I have a video. I'm going to jump over to the video and show that real quick. It's about 3-4 minutes long, I think.
What is an ERP? ERP software has been considered a business necessity for decades now, but what really is an ERP? ERP is an acronym for Enterprise Resource Planning. In other words, an ERP is a tool for managing information. ERP can describe a class of business management software that offers broad functionality across multiple aspects of a business's operation, from back office accounting tasks to inventory management, purchasing, and order processing. Companies use ERP software to help consolidate data from multiple departments across their entire business into one centralized database. This improves cross-departmental visibility, business efficiencies, and improves employee collaboration. You can think of an ERP system as a web that connects all the departments and computer systems in an organization. The central feature of all ERP systems is the shared database that supports multiple functions used by different departments within a company. For example, employees from your accounting and sales department can rely on the same information for their specific needs. This improves efficiency and translates to cost savings as people spend less time digging for data. Now, what are the benefits of ERP? For companies, an ERP software is at the heart of their business. Take it away and the company would struggle to continue. Here are just a few key ERP software benefits that apply to any company regardless of which or how many elements of the software you might use. First, there's a single source of business truths. There's improved business insights with access to real-time information, lower operational costs through streamlined business processes, time savings due to automation of routine tasks, minimize use of separate applications and the associated duplicate data entry, improved collaboration as users share common data across the organization, efficiency gains through integrated workflows spanning operational tasks, higher user adoption rates and lower training costs thanks to a common user experience, and reduced risks through improved data integrity, security, and financial controls. But most surprisingly, some of the major benefits of ERP software are not actually what lies within, but the world of capabilities that an ERP software provides. Modern ERP software like Sage Intacct, Sage X3, and Acumatica support application programming interfaces, which allows two applications to talk to each other, syncing data from other critical business applications such as CRM, payment processing services, and EDI service providers. Now, is ERP worth the investment? While the term ERP may come into and out of fashion, The broad and robust functionality that modern ERP solutions provide is evergreen. Our answer is yes, ERP software is a worthy investment. We at The Answer Company are a certified Diamond Sage partner and Acumatica Gold partner, with over 25 years of helping businesses propel forward. If you have any questions about the benefits of ERP software in general, or specifically about Sage Intacct, Sage X3, or Acumatica.
Okay, yeah, the rest of that is a sales pitch, which is very common when you find some of these things. So I'm gonna spare you the sales pitch and jump back over to the slides. So in general, what ERP systems are, it's an organizational, it's across the board. I think as I go back to either first or second chapter, we talked about those stovepipe systems that we have. And we have each system historically, and that's because of the way they were built. Historically, we had, accounting had their function, marketing had theirs, productions, operations management had their HR. Everybody had their own systems. And so what we're trying to do, once again, now what we're trying to do is integrate all those things together. And that's one of the methodologies, and one of the ways to do that is to use an ERP system. ERP systems have been around for several years now, and the goal of them is to have one package that you use for all things. And like I showed, I'm going to jump. These things are kind of, the rest of this is kind of a lead in. So I'm going to jump to this next chart and kind of show, I think this is easier to talk to from this chart. So as you can see here, hopefully, one of the things on this chart you see, and as it was discussed in the video, usually you have this integrated database, very, very important, with those columns or those stovepipes, whatever you want to call them, within an organization. The biggest problem is that we have information or data that is, more specifically data that is in each of those systems. And the reality is, a lot of times, some of these different functions in the organization need that same information. And so you have to figure out a way to pass it from one to the other. Well, when you have a common data structure or database that everybody uses and talks to, it gets rid of that complication of, oh, okay, how do I get it from this program over to that one? And we had those issues. I think I mentioned in the past, we had those issues sometimes with the records management system. We need to know about records, information about who's in the jail system, or we need to know certain information. The patrol guys need to know, different kinds of things, or dispatch needs things. And so, but we had all these, and they still do, and they're working towards trying to go to an ERP based system, but they're not there. And so now we have to figure, okay, well, we have this information in the jails and we want to compare that to all this over. So and it's very tedious and time consuming. So the goal is to get to something along the lines of having a fully integrated data system. So that's kind of the centerpiece here. The other thing is some of the things we want to do. If you notice some of these, and this is probably not, a complete set, depending on what your business does. You may, you're probably going to have accounting and finance. You're probably going to have human resources, manufacturing and production. If you're just a service, you're probably not going to have manufacturing. But the idea is, these are the core things. These are the kinds of things that you're probably going to use in most organizations, all the way, probably, maybe some of these things, supply chain, maybe, and maybe some of the CRM. But these are the core functions that most organizations are going to have. And by the way, and this is one of those things that the book does talk about, the CRM, the ERP stuff kind of came out of the old original. The manufacturing is the first ones who use it, and it used to be called MRP, Manufacturing Resource Programming or Planning. And so they were the ones who kind of started, and this upper part is probably, in a lot of times you'll see ERPs represented based on the old MRP, and then MRP2, which added additional capability onto it and made it start adding more of this kind of functionality. But this is kind of the core kind of things that ERPs generally have. And as your business grows or as whatever your business needs are, then you start adding other things. Supply chain management are those things. Okay, like I said, we need, I'm making these PC things. I need to buy cases, motherboards. I need to buy, monitors, keyboards. I need to buy these things that are, comprise a desktop in this case, kind of uh, computer. So I gotta buy those things. How do I buy them? How do I get them from my suppliers? And so the supply chain management modules will help you do that. And if it's dynamic enough, it'll probably actually have direct connections to them, and they'll help you with your inventory control. And then this is chapter 11, so I'm not going to go into that too terribly much. We're going to talk about that next chapter. Customer relations kind of thing. You have these customers, you sell them, you ship things, you have your outbound kind of transactions that you send things to them. And maybe they call and they say, oh, this thing's not working, or you shipped it to me and it didn't, and the keyboard wasn't there, or a cable that was supposed to be included isn't there. So you have certain interactions with your customers, and so there's a module to keep track of that. And all these other things, business intelligence, you want to make smart business decisions about them. So all these different types of things, and these are kind of the extended ones, as the book calls them, kind of operations. And the nice thing about this is, and then I talked a little bit here, is let's say, there's something going on. You have a lot of interactions with a customer, and then I'll show a marketing kind of function or a sales function. One of the things that'd be kind of nice is, oh, okay, I got this guy, I got this person on the phone, they're complaining about their system doesn't work or something. And I look over here and I say, oh my goodness, this person buys a lot of stuff for them. So having this module connected with a marketing or sales kind of market module as well, you can say, oh, this is a good customer. We're getting a brand new one. They're a good customer, and so we're gonna take good care of this person. They spend a lot of money with us. All right, you might say, oh yeah, this is a one-time thing. I'm just gonna give them the standard. Okay, what can we do to try to fix it? So having those two things connect, that's just an example. Having these two connected, you might make different decisions on how to deal with your customers. And having all these things connected together gives you wider understanding about how the whole function of your organization. All right, let's move on. So some of the major benefits, I'm kind of looking at the time saying, because I'm kind of halfway through, I'm kind of saying, is this a good place to stop? Or just I hate these chapters that are they're too long for one session, but they're not big enough really for two. It's kind of brutal. All right, so moving into the next area, organization, the benefits of it, flexibility and agility. Obviously, if you have that ability to communicate and get information from the other areas, it makes it a lot easier for you to be flexible and make changes and agile towards how you do things. Salespeople understanding and knowing, you have production kind of information. And let's say I'm a sales guy, I'm out in the field and I have the ability to log in, and that inventory kind of thing kind of crops up. Somebody, I'm talking to a customer and they said, boy, I really like, I'm going to be selling 1,000 widgets in the next month. Do you have that? The salesperson having that connection with the other parts of the ERP can go into system and say, hey, we only got like 500. There's no way we can build enough to meet their needs. So you can kind of say, well, I can get you, and they can make decisions and deal with it. So it gives you a little more flexibility in how you do business. And so that's a definite advantage. The next thing, decision support. Once again, I am a big proponent of, those who make better decisions usually operate and work better in an organization. Being able to see what's going on, this product's selling, like I kind of maybe jumping back to the what I talked about earlier. This product's been selling really well, but all of a sudden in the last 2 years, it's dying off. Nobody's buying it anymore. Okay, now I need to make a decision. Am I going to do something, change the product to make it more appealing to my customers? Or am I going to say, I'm going to kill it off? This is not really worth producing anymore. We don't have any ideas of how to make it better or how more appealing. Let's get rid of it. Or, you can make decisions about your product or your service. And then the last thing is quality and efficiency. You can get information back. I want let's take into account. You're getting that customer feedback, and boy, it seems like we're sending these things out. We're sending out desktop machines, and for whatever reason, the people they keep calling and saying that the case that it came in is dented all the time. Well, that might be a quality issue in how we're packaging stuff and sending it out. So it gives you an indicator. I can make now, once again, a decision saying, hey, we need to change the way we're packaging these things, or maybe they're packaging them too fast and not doing it right. Maybe the whatever, there's the packaging that's around it's not very good quality and it's crushing it or something. Whatever. You can now make decisions about the quality of things. And you can also look at efficiency. Are we getting things made fast, or maybe shipping them out? So it'll help you because of that integration of all the different parts. You can make better decisions about things like efficiency as well. All right, what is the next chart? The next chart is let me look here so I can see. I'm trying to see if I'm going to stop pretty soon. Time is it? I think these next two charts kind of go together, and then actually it's going to push me like three charts. I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to finish this part next week, just in the interest of time. I don't know if I can get through all this by then. So I'm going to stop on this chart. I'm going to go ahead and start here on next Thursday instead of finishing it today. And once again, next Thursday, because on Tuesday, I'll go back through. I'm going to go ahead and minimize these charts and get rid of this. Let's go back over to this module. Once again, so next Tuesday is the midterm. I just want to overemphasize that perhaps. I'm going to put out an announcement as a reminder. So next Tuesday is the midterm chapters. Let me find it again. Where is that at? 5 through 9. So it does not include what I have just talked about. That's why I can defer it and talk about 10 the next time. 10 through 14 will be on the final. I think that's down there at the bottom, 10 through 14. And so this one's just going to cover 5 through 9. Once again, people ask me all the time, what's the best way to study for it? I do strongly recommend. The questions on the exams come more from what I talk about in class. I try to emphasize in class the things that I think are more important. Those things that I think would make you a better employee, somebody I would be interested, or would have been interested anyway, in hiring. So that is your best way to kind of figure out what's going to be on the exam. The book has a lot of stuff that I think is, there's various levels of value in there to me. Some things are of high value to you as an employee, and there are other things in here I think that are of lower value. I try to find what I think are mid-range to higher value to you professionally, and those are the things that are going to probably end up on the test. So hopefully that helps. And other than that, once again, as a reminder, let's don't forget about this. Maybe go the groups. I need a point over here to it. These are the different groups I have so far. In this section anyway, the 67 section. I don't have, nobody has identified what their preference on the date is. Let me know if you have a preference. And groups, looks like C, E, and F, you have not given me their topics. Please give me those as soon as you can. Get with your groups and discuss, come up with something that you want. And then send it to me, and I will put that in here. And when you tell me, when I get a preference for your presentation date, I will add those in. And I don't think I talked about the presentation format this time at the beginning, but I will emphasize it here again. I talked about it, I think, last time as well. The presentation I've decided is I'm going to create a discussion board, and I want each of the groups, one person from the group, upload. You're going to make a video of it, all the presenters covering all the topics in the list, present all the topics, record all of it, put it together in a single recording. Easiest way to do that is in a Zoom session. Use Zoom, and then you create a recording, and you will need to you upload that to YouTube, and then put that link into the discussion board. And then the discussion board I will have make available for everybody to see. And I don't know if I just said, I think I want all students to watch each of the sessions and make at least one, maybe two comments about each of the presentations. So let's say I'm going to pick on the nanotechnology types right here. So once they're going to put together, they're going to cover all the topics in the that I've laid out in the information guide for how to do this. And they're going to do all the sections in there, create a recording. Each person's going to record their 5 minutes at a time. And then somebody's going to upload that to the discussion board, which will be over here once I create it or edit it. It's already there. I just need to edit it and then make that available. Other students will then watch the video and make a comment about it. Hopefully that's clear. If it's not, somebody send me an email and I'll hopefully try to elaborate that. But that's the format that's how we're going to do the presentations, and it will be due. And I think I'm kind of leaning towards Wednesdays now. It'll be due midnight on Wednesdays. You have to upload it by that day. The Wednesdays, as I showed at the beginning, starting in like 2-3 weeks from now. All right, I think I covered all the presentation stuff. Any questions on any of this? Does this make sense? Is it clear as mud, or any questions?
Professor, I just want to confirm. So basically, we're not going to present in class. It's going to be something we're going to watch in class on YouTube.
No, it's actually, yeah. You're not going to present in class. You're going to record it offline and then upload it. And we're not necessarily going to watch it in class either. It's just going to be something out.
It's going to be regular classes.
What's that?
We'll just have regular classes, but we're going to comment.
Correct.
When we're obviously not in class, and then.
Yeah, you'll do this offline. It'll be put on the discussion board. So you'll want to go and look at the discussion board and review. You'll watch it. Typically, these groups are 6 to 7 people, as you can see, 5 minutes apiece. If you do the math, 6 people is going to be 30 minutes, 35 minutes for a 7-person group. So they're half-hour short-ish. So you'll be watching those offline and whenever you want, and then make a comment or two about them. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense now. I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, good question. Trying to think if there's anything else in here that I didn't cover. One thing I may have mentioned, and there's always that situation where you have a team member that's not participating or you're struggling with them. One of the things I do have and it's going to be on the day of the final, I will give you a piece of paper and to evaluate your team's participation. So if you do have a person who is not participating, or there is some level of recourse, you're going to evaluate everybody and you'll tell me how they're doing, and that hopefully will motivate people to participate and be cooperative and collaborative and those kinds of things. So there is going to be an evaluation form, and I usually do that the day of the final. All right, makes sense. And once again, if there's something that was clear as mud or didn't make sense at all to you, send me an email and I'll put it out. I'm going to put out an announcement about a reminder for the midterm, as well as talk a little bit more and probably try to elaborate a little bit of this in an announcement. Some of these things, it's easier to talk here. I prefer to do this, but I always try to hit it in an announcement too for those who have not watched the videos. All right, anything else? If not, I am good for the day, and everybody have a great weekend. Study hard, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Thank you, Professor.
All right, thank you.
Professor, have a good day.
You as well.
You as well.
Thank you, Professor.